Okay, well, for some reason I have settled on this being a good idea. You've read the title, you know what's going on. So, let's just get right into it. 52 Nifty Bookish Qs. I was not tagged, no one knows me, I want to do it. Question number 1. What are you reading right now? I am reading like a gazillion things right now. I have 2 of them right here next to me. I'm reading Astro City, Life in the Big City by Kurt Busiek. Trying to read more comics and crap. So, and I'm also reading Unholy by Neil Schusterman. This is book 2 in the Unwind series Dystology. I think it's 4 books. Anyways, this one, I mean, so far, like, the writing is about the same as Unwind. I'm just not sure that the story is there. It's quite, it's not boring, but it's kind of tedious. Alright, let's see. So that was question number 1. What is question number 2? What was the last thing you highlighted? God damn it. What was the last thing I highlighted? It might have been in college. It might have been when I was in college. I don't know. Good God. I don't know. The last thing I underlined, so I've been underlining some shit in this, which I'm also currently reading, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. I don't know if that counts though. Does underlining count? I mean, I would assume so. I mean, it's kind of like the same. I don't know. Anyways, question number 3. What do you plan to read next? Oh, I actually, because normally I would say like I'm reading like a million things right now. I'm not planning on reading anything next, but I actually am. So I am planning on reading Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien next. Yes, I am. Question number 4. One fiction writer, living or dead, with which I would like to grab a drink. Okay, so the thing is, like, the next 4 questions here are like grab a drink with questions. Personally, no one. I don't want to grab a drink with anyone. I'm just gonna skip the next 4 questions because I honestly I wouldn't want to grab a drink with anyone. And I mean, for highly specific reasons that we can get into at another time. So question number 8. Emily Dickinson or Edgar Allan Poe? So, I have not read much Dickinson, so I'm gonna have to say Poe. Hemingway or Fitzgerald? I've honestly read neither. I mean, I probably was supposed to have read Great Gatsby in high school, but didn't. So, Jane Austen or Charles Dickens? Austen. Oh my God, Dickens is such a drag. Harris or Hitchens? I've read neither. I don't know. Number 12 is Stephen King or Michael Crichton. Again, I haven't read any Crichton, so I'm gonna have to go with King, but I've only read 1 book by King, so like, I don't know. Bret Easton Ellis or Chuck Palahniuk? I've read neither, so, Kurt Vonnegut or John Green? Okay, so I read 1 book by Vonnegut, and I read 1 book by Green, and I haven't really enjoyed either of them, but I'm interested in reading more Vonnegut, and I'm not interested in reading any more Green, so I'll say Vonnegut. Shakespeare's poems or plays? Plays, hands down. Who would say poems? Oh gosh, no, his plays. Adrian Fort or Dalton Gentry? I'm gonna say Adrian Fort because when I started watching Search Coverlet, Dalton wasn't there, and I was like, who the fuck is Dalton? Like, the entire time. And yeah, so I'm just gonna say Adrian. I know everyone's been like sidestepping this question, but like, who the fuck cares? No one's watching this. Cormac McCarthy or J.K. Rowling? Again, I haven't read McCarthy, so I'm gonna say Rowling, but I dislike. I like her works. I dislike how she thinks she still has like the power to change them. So let's just leave it at that. Hannibal Lecter or Voldemort? Voldemort. T.C. Boyle or George Saunders? I have not read any Boyle. I think I've read like one Saunders short story, and I've like tried Lincoln in the Bardo. So I mean Saunders, I guess, but like, question number 20. Good writing or good story? I want both. I want both. I'm gonna have to go with good story on this one. I mean, I have read some pretty terrible writing, but I mean, it doesn't matter how good the writing is if the story isn't interesting, right? So I'm gonna go with good story, but I'm very reluctant about it. Let's see. Question 21. YA or children's lit? So when I first started watching BookTube way back in 2012, I did not know that there was anything other than YA on BookTube. So that's like primarily what I read, probably from like even like before I started watching, from like 2010, 2009 until like 2014, 2015, when I started like branching out into other kinds of literature. So I have a lot of young adult books that I read and enjoyed and really loved and want to reread. And for me, children's lit, again, for very complicated reasons. I don't remember much of what I read as a child. I'm maybe going to get into those complicated and highly specific reasons later, if anyone really cares. But I will say, lately I've been rereading some young adult books to try and move them off of my shelves, and I've read a couple of children's books lately as well. I think young adult has more issues just baked into the category, and I think it's harder to I think it's hard if you're a young adult author to really care about what you're writing and make it good. Let's just say that. So, like, I'm not going to answer why your children's lit, because I mean I have issues with young adult literature, but I'm not familiar with children's literature, so I can't say. Let's see. Question number 22: irony or humor? I'm gonna go with irony, because it's just as funny, and it's, I don't know, it's just I like irony. Question number 23: sci-fi or horror? Sci-fi, hands down. I'm not a horror reader, not a horror person. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't gravitate towards it. Question 24: fantasy or nonfiction? Now this one seems like a no-brainer, right? Like, they're like such opposite genres, and like if you asked me like 2 years ago, I'd have been like fantasy, no problem. And like because they're like such opposite, like nonfiction is like real reality, and like fantasy is like magic and like the opposite of real reality, right? Last year, the two genres that I read the most of were fantasy and nonfiction. And I don't think I could go through the rest of my life not reading either now. I mean, particularly after last year. I mean, I think every single favorite book that I read last year was either fantasy or nonfiction. And like those were just the two genres that I read the most of and that I was enjoying the most. But like, so gun to my head, I would say fantasy, because I'm more familiar with the genre, and there I have favorites that I would like to revisit throughout my life, and I've just had a longer relationship with fantasy, I guess you could say. But it'd be tough for me to give up nonfiction now that I've like read it and enjoyed it some. So question 25. Would I rather find a new favorite contemporary writer or a new favorite old-time great? And I would rather find a new favorite contemporary author. I don't know. I mean, there's just something about like living in the same moment as a writer and like living through the same like historical events that kind of like I think gives someone a like better perspective on like where that author might be coming from. And also contemporary writers are like coming out with more stuff, whereas old-time greats kind of have what they wrote, and that's it. You can't really go beyond that. But I wouldn't mind finding either, honestly. Question 26, sonnets or haiku. I'll go with sonnets. Question 27, sestina or villanelles. Villanelles, hands down, I love villanelles. Question 28, spend the evening at a library or bookstore. Probably the library. I mean, I like both, but probably the library. I tend to get more books from the library than the bookstore, because you have to pay at the bookstore. So, question 29, magazine or Wikipedia article? Wikipedia article, hands down. Who reads magazines? Ugh, gross. Question 30, dictionary or encyclopedia? Since I already have Wikipedia, I'll go with dictionary. Question 31, the writer I would like to write my biography. No one write my biography. That would be so fucking boring. No one ever. Don't even think about it. No. Question 32. I do or do not highlight my books. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, I totally will. I did in college, and I don't have any like. I'm not like super precious about my books and like keeping them pristine. So like I would do it. I don't often feel the desire to. Question 33. I do or do not write in my books. Same difference. I don't mind it. I'm not super precious about my books, but I just don't often like have that much to like say in the margins. And if I do, I'll usually say it out loud to somebody else. Like I'll like go out and find a brother or something and be like, this is so, yeah, and then I'll just like get it out with my mouth. So yeah. Question 34, earliest memory of the library. I'm gonna skip this one. For again, highly specific and not relevant reasons. Question 35. Last time I went to the library. Earlier today, actually, I was at the library book sale. So, you can look forward to that. And this is why I'm filming this today, too, because I didn't want to film a book haul right after I uploaded a book haul. Like, that would not be cool. So, but it'll come in like a week or so, because I'm also putting myself on a book buying ban. So, yeah, we'll see. Question 36. Have you ever stolen/accidentally stolen books from the library? I have. Well, I'm not sure if it was a library, but it was, I think it was like a like bookcase at like a ski lodge or something weird like that. It might have been a teacher's classroom too, but I think it was like just randomly a bookshelf at a ski lodge, or like a book nook at a ski lodge or something like that. And I was like 12 or 13. I was kind of young, and I was really into the Animorphs, as you know. And they had an animal book that I didn't have. And so I was like, no, it's mine now. It's mine now. So that's all there is to the story. But yeah, I like would like super intentionally and like strategically like steal books from like classrooms and like just random bookshelves around. God, I was such a terrible child. Question 37. Ballpark. How many books do you own? Between 500 and 600, probably, I think. Yeah. How many books do you think would make for a good personal library? So right now, I just have my room in my parents' house, and there's not enough room. So right now, five to 600 is probably the max I could go. But ideally, I would think 1,000 would be fine. Like if I had my own apartment or my own house or anything. Like I think 1,000 would be fine. Question 39. So there's Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, etc. How do you feel about this phenomenon? I think it's fine. I honestly, a lot of like my first encounters with like classics were like through like young adult retellings. Like I remember like before I'd even read Poe, I read this book called Nevermore by Kelly Krieg from my high school library, and I enjoyed that fine, and I didn't even know it was related to Poe. And then when I was in college and I read Poe, I was like, oh, I I bet that was it. And like it kind of gave me something to like get my hooks into when I was taking a college course, where like instead of like it being like just completely above my head and just something that I totally like could not understand, it was something that like, oh, I've seen this before. Like I kind of know what's going on. So like I think it's fine trend. I mean, honestly, if it's in the public domain, honestly, who cares? Question 40. Horror trip you would like to see get more love. I don't know. Castor Michelle Gellar. I don't know. Question 41. Something we think it's underutilized in science fiction. I would kind of like to see like more like techno optimism or like future optimism, because like a lot of sci-fi is just like super like depressing, and like the robots will like end humanity, or like even like Wall-E, where like I mean the robots might be helpful, but like humanity has like just become like fat and lazy, and like we can't even walk on our own anymore. And so I think like there's no limit to human ingenuity, and like we are like hands down living in the best time to be alive. Like modern medicine, plumbing, like food production. Oh my god, like this is like the best time to be alive. And like why do we assume the future is gonna get worse, right? Like and so I just like to see like more optimistic futures in sci-fi than we currently have. Although I also understand that like the genre kind of like calls for some conflict to occur, but the conflict doesn't necessarily have to be about the future being awful. Like there are other forms of conflict that you could have in a science fiction novel, I think. I don't know. Maybe I should write that. We'll see. We'll see if I can do that. I'm personally I'm not super optimistic about the future, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not the right person to write that, but we'll see. Question 42. Flash fiction. Form of and format of literature, or just a short story dummy. So I have written flash fiction in college, and I've like read a couple of flash fiction. It is like the same kind of thing as writing a short story, but you're really constrained by the word count. In one of my college classes, the assignment was to like write a story in under 2 pages, and a lot of my classmates really struggled with like having an entire narrative take place in just 2 pages, and it is really hard. And so there is something to be said about that. And so I think it can be a form of fiction on its own, but I think it could also just be a short story. It depends on like your intentions in writing it, or on the author's intentions in writing it. If you're just reading it, not writing, so I mean, it definitely depends on like who is doing it and why they're doing it. So, question 43: if you could own one book from all of history, what would it be? Question 43: if you could own one book from all of history, what would it be? All right, so a couple months ago, I saw an article online about like this really weird, particular like science fiction novel from like the late 90s. It's out of print now, which is why it's like the one book from all of history that I would want to own. It's called Why Do Birds by Damon Knight, and it's like this really like it sounds like really optimistic like future sci-fi. And question 44: audiobooks, the same as reading? Not the same. Not the same. Not the same. It can be the same. So I've been reading poems by Kerr Allison Acton Bell on my Kindle, and let me tell you, Charlotte Bronte is a long-winded poet, and I was getting real bored. So I found the free audio on LibriVox, and I've been listening while I'm reading to like keep my mind from like wandering, from being like, oh my god, is Charlotte ever gonna stop talking about this guy, right? So like it can be utilized to help reading, I think. But then also like it's also something that you can just do like in the car. I mean, I don't have a very long commute, so I don't really listen to audiobooks in the car, but like you can do that too, or like while you're doing chores or something. So I mean, not the same if you just listen to the audiobook, but it can be useful in reading, and if it's a way to like fill time that is otherwise dead, that's otherwise like mentally dead time. Like I think I don't have any problem with people reading audiobooks. I mean, half of the books I'm reading right now are audiobooks, so it would be weird if I had a problem with that. Question 45: most literary songwriter of your lifetime? Taylor Swift. Question 46: what writer embarrasses you the most because you haven't read them? So I mean, there's definitely like a couple, like I know earlier I mentioned like I haven't really read Dickinson or like Hemingway or Fitzgerald. I'm like, I'm kind of like mildly embarrassed when I haven't read them. I'm like there's still a lot of like classics that I've been like meaning to read, but honestly the past year or two I've been like really kind of like going after the ones that I'm like most embarrassed to not have read, like Jane Austen. I had not read Jane Austen before last summer. I was real embarrassed about that, but I read her now, so I'm good. I'm good. Let's see. Question 48: what is a biography you are looking forward to reading? It's not a biography; it's a memoir. That's fine. I'm looking forward to Educated by Tara Westover. So it's not a biography, but like, who the fuck reads biographies? I don't fucking read biographies. Question 49: do you have a dream reading cubby? I mean, I would love to have like a room dedicated to holding my books one day, and I'm an adult and I don't live with my parents, but that's a long ways off. Question 50: last literary phenomenon that really got your gears grinding. I don't follow that too much, so I don't know. Question 51: what was the last piece of literature that changed the way you read? For me, it was a Russian journal by John Steinbeck. I read it in college, and it was just amazing. I absolutely adored it, and it didn't change the way I read, but it changed the way I thought. So that was really nice. And question number 52: which booktuber have I been watching the most recently? Olive from the book Olive. I've been watching her for like a year or so, but like her videos are the ones that I kind of like look forward to sort of the most. Unless insert literary pun here uploads a video and I'm like on that, but she's not really uploading regularly. So, yeah. That was the 52 Nifty Bookish Qs tag. A very subdued ending, but I had a lot of fun. I have a half-hour footage. I'm gonna try and edit it down to like, I don't know, 20 minutes. Maybe, probably not. I'll see. Anyways, Adrian just started talking there. I'm sorry, I was trying to pull up the tag again. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.